Dungeon Crawler Carl, my first LitRPG, my first audiobook, the first book that's left me lost for words. All I can say is, what did I just read?
No fluff writing advice. Cut the fluff!
In truth, I can and will say a lot more than what did I just read, because what did I just read isn't exactly a comprehensive or insightful review, is it? Alright, let's start with the good, move on to the bad, and finish with the ugly. If I can even find anything ugly to say about Dungeon Crawler Carl, we'll see. Alright, the good. When Carl first steps into the dungeon, spoiler, he does enter a dungeon, I had no idea what to expect, and that feeling continued through the entire book. That's a good thing. You feel a constant sense of tension, uncertainty, and dungeon-fueled dread. There are obstacles aplenty, and characters are constantly on the edge of ruin. It's a messed up situation. The author perfectly highlights the brutal reality of dungeon crawling. If you're just there for a laugh, forget about it. While the humour is on point, plenty of chuckles to be had, maybe even the odd guffaw when the wind blows the right way, it turns out an involuntary homicidal rampage through a dungeon isn't such a light-hearted affair. Even so, most of the jokes hit, like a well-aimed magic missile. And yes, Dungeon Crawler Carl does have some serious and, dare I say, emotional moments. When you write a story like this and you've essentially given the audience permission to laugh at anything, even death, the ultimate whoopsie, landing emotional moments can be difficult. Matt Dinniman does a great job of transitioning between humour and sincerity. With that said, sometimes it is difficult to take the serious moments seriously when they're sandwiched between silliness. Try saying that with a lisp. The silliness sandwich, yum, works well for this book. You can taste the brutal reality of the situation. However, those sincere emotional moments will need to get stronger as the series progresses if readers are going to buy in emotionally. Or whatever, maybe we are just meant to laugh. Plenty of video game and RPG tropes to go around, the dungeons utterly stuffed with them. Also, plenty of insightful commentary on reality TV, social media, capitalism, all the crowning jewels of modern civilization. It may sound insane to force people to fight their way through a dungeon for entertainment, but when the venture's fueled by capitalism, it's disturbingly believable. People often debate which book most accurately predicted the future, 1984 or A Brave New World. Give it time and we could be tossing Dungeon Crawler Carl into the mix. That's a dark future I hope I'm not around for. After reading DCC, I can confidently say I'm not built for dungeon crawling. While I'm certainly dumb enough to walk into the dungeon, I'm not resilient enough to survive the first floor. And the second floor, I'll have no part in that, thank you very much. Before we move on to the bad, I need to talk about the audiobook. Seriously, what did I just listen to? This really was my first audiobook, and I'm guessing they're not all like this. What can I even say? The narration is next level. And I'm not talking about dungeon levels, I'm talking talent and skill levels. Who is this guy, Jeff Hayes? I didn't realise until after I finished the audiobook that this utter lunatic voices all of the characters. Hayes is a black belt in voice acting, a level 9000 voice master city boss, a goddamn rare mythical creature. I get why people recommend the audiobook over the text version of DCC. It's a ride, a good ride, and Jeff Hayes is your slick-tongued tour guide. This guy has seriously overbuffed his voice acting skills. It's not even fair. Whenever I try to do an accent or impression, I just end up sounding like Borat, except if I try to do Borat. Then I sound like nothing or no one who's ever existed. My voice acting skill level is in the minuses. It's a permanent debuff, a borderline disability. A goddamn it donut. See what I mean? Now, is there even anything bad to say about Dungeon Crawler Carl? Yes. My biggest issue with the book may very well be an issue with the entire lit RPG genre, but there are scenes where someone, usually the in-dungeon AI, is just spouting information, hitting us with a torrent of trivia, a torrential downpour of unsolicited info, stats, item descriptions, loot box contents. Oh, the endless loot boxes. I don't even know what was in most of them. I stopped paying attention. With that said, there's a good chance some of the tedious info dumping moments were intentional. I say that because they quite accurately replicate the standard video game experience, and as the story progresses, you realise the author's fairly self-aware and likely does most things on purpose. like any good author should. Look at me spinning a negative into a positive. I really should be more scathing in my reviews. That's what people want, yeah? The relentless verbal dismemberment of a thing other people love. Don't worry, I've got some other reviews in the pipeline that will quench your thirst for blood. All right, back to the info dumping, which begins almost immediately. I will say most info dumps are somewhat salvaged by the humour, but there are others that even a well-placed funny can't save. I zoned out in a few places. Maybe that's a side effect of listening rather than reading. Maybe I'm still acquiring the LitRPG taste. I wouldn't be surprised if info dumping really is a genre convention, but it was my first LitRPG, so I don't know what's expected and what's not. Either way, Dinniman seemingly gives himself permission to dump without restraint. It doesn't ruin the story, but at times facts are being force-fed down your throat. I know some people like a good fact-based throat f***ing, but it's not my thing. I prefer my info mixed in with the rest of the meal so you barely notice you're eating it. Like when a parent mixes the veggies in with the good stuff hoping the kid will eat them. Yes, I'm basically a fussy child. So, does Dungeon Crawler Carl get ugly? Honestly, not really. But there was one problem that was always at the back of my mind. It isn't an issue with the book itself. I mean, not really. The problem I had was the stakes never felt high. The tension and the conflict, external and internal, were compelling. But I know there are several more books in the series, many of which have a very much alive Carl and his companion on the covers. So I never felt like they were in any real danger. It also felt like any major issues could just be healed away. It's not like no one ever lost the game, but Carl and his companion always seemed too safe. When the series is called Dungeon Crawler Carl, you're keeping Carl alive for most of it, if not all of it. It's not like an epic fantasy series like George R.R. Martin's Song of Ice and Fire, where you could kill anyone and the story still goes on. One way to address this would have been to have more secondary characters equal to Carl's companion and have one of them bite the dungeon dust at some point. Oh, anyone, except of course Carl, could die at any moment. Well, now I'm appropriately stressed. The other solution is to have stakes slightly lower than death. For example, in Stephen King's Dark Tower series, you know Roland's making it to the last book, but that doesn't mean all of his limbs are. Won't say too much, trying to avoid spoiling another series here. Maybe we'll see some real stakes as DCC progresses, but book 1 felt a little too safe, even if it was a wild and violent ride. Maybe Carl and his companion found some plot armor in one of those loot boxes when I wasn't paying attention. Let's go with that. When it's all said and done, or read and done, Dinniman expertly foreshadows and sets up future events for future books. You know some shit is going down who knows how many books from now, and I'm looking forward to it. Yes, I'm stuck in the dungeon now, no turning back. What is there, like 7 books so far? Looks like I'll be in the dungeon for a while yet. Send help. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy this video, hit subscribe anyway, and hate watch my content. That's always fun.